Jamettes and Jammers, to another episode of the Cam Sports Jam. Wow, what an emotional weekend in sports it was. From the passing of the young Miami Prince Fernandez to the passing of the King Arnold Palmer. It was, needless to say, a very sad and mournful weekend in sports. You know, we have lots to discuss on the jam today, and some more uplifting stuff than we're gonna focus on first. But we want to give some respect and give our thoughts and feelings on the passing of these two very monumental characters in sports these days. First off, let's focus on Fernandez. Stevie, give me your idea of the impact that this man had, this young man had at 24 years of age, on the Miami culture, on Cuba, being from Cuba. What can you tell me about this stellar gentleman who just left us way too soon?
Stellar, I think, is I guess an underappreciation. This guy was a figure to the community from Cuba, Miami. The baseball community in itself has gone out of their way, and I still feel like that they feel it's not enough to show their appreciation for this man. I mean, he, on his way over here trying to get here in order to play baseball, he saw a woman fall off of the boat. What did he do? First thing he did, jump in, and what do you know? It's his mom. He saved his mom essentially, and you hear more and more stories about what a character this guy was. He saw a kid crying on the side of the, couldn't be at a baseball game crying, and what does he do? He goes over and asks the kid for his autograph. So it's I'm upset that I never got to meet him. Not that I meet many, but he's one that I would definitely want to meet, and his impact on and off the baseball diamond will always be remembered.
Absolutely, and obviously at 24 years of age, one of more of the younger players on his team, with players such as Ichiro, Stanton, who have been part of the game for several years, even Gordon, who is younger, but all these players who have had impacts already on the game, who were so appreciative of what he brought to the sport of baseball, and you saw the emotion poured out, whether it was on social media, whether it was on the actual diamond. The Mets and the Marlins had a great come together meeting at the mound for Fernandez. The game after he had passed, and D. Gordon pouring out his emotion after his tremendous home run. It just unreal, just absolutely unreal, and nothing but respect for this young man, and he deserves it all. He really does. Tremendous character, tremendous competitor, two-time All-Star. Not much more you can say about a young man at 24 years of age, just obviously too soon. But alongside of that was the passing of a much more aged gentleman who has made, just as significant of an impact, but over more years had lived his life, but still sad to see it come to an end, is the man Arnold Palmer. Tremendous impact this man has had on the golf industry, on the PGA Tour, as a golfer, as a competitor, as a gentleman, as a friend, as an architect. He's a Hall of Fame architect, golf course designer as well. He hosts the Bay Hill Invitational at his golf course, Bay Hill. Just sad to see it all come to an end, but a time to really sit back and remember the things that this man brought to the game of golf, how he brought it to a forefront, how he was able to make it something that was more interesting, that brought it more attention to the growth that it has today and the popularity that it has today. So both of these gentlemen deserve nothing but credit, and it's a tremendous loss in the sports industry of both of these men. But let's move on. More to discuss today. Let's start. We're gonna start with local DC sports news, and one of the first things we're gonna focus on is the Nationals. We're gonna talk about the Nationals. We're gonna talk about their current health situation. It's not good. It's really not good. Very upsetting coming into the postseason. Very high expectations. It's been years that we've been wanting to get over that edge, and it doesn't look like it's maybe going to happen this year. Very upsetting. From then, we're going to move on to college football. We're going to talk some college football stuff. There's some big playoff implications in college football this year, or I'm sorry, this weekend coming up. We're going to talk Maryland also, their matchup against Purdue. We're going to finish with some NFL discussions, a recap and breakdown of the Skins' victory over the Giants.
What?
Hey, guess what? We won a game. But also, we're going to give predictions and insights about their matchup this weekend against Cleveland. But before we get started, want to give a big shout out to Good Samaritans Medical Transport, our title sponsor. Can't thank you enough for all your medical transport needs. Just call Good Samaritans Medical Transports. Good Samaritan Medical Transport, service that exceeds expectations. So let's talk, Stevie, about the Nats. Obviously, most heartbreaking news that we've heard of recent has to be the torn ACL for Wilson Ramos, our catcher, out for the season. How detrimental is this to the Nationals?
I think, obviously, in my opinion, the effect will be more detrimental in the sense of leadership rather than productivity. That's my opinion. He started off hot. Ramos has, over the years, not been a season-long player. This year he started very well, was batting .320, I believe, before the All-Star break, smashing 22 bombs. On pace for an MVP season. Meanwhile, Buster Posey in his MVP race, he hit 24 the entire season. So Ramos started hot, but since the beginning of August, maybe August 5, August 8, he's been batting .232, 1-2 bombs. He's slowed down and regressed to the Wilson Ramos, I guess, what you would be used to seeing him produce. So in that sense, yes, it's a loss in the sense of being behind the plate, but for what we're used to seeing and overlooking the unproductive or productive sense of Wilson, I think his leadership is going to be what's most lost.
Okay, fair enough. But you can lead from the bench. Like, let's be honest. He can still be out there and give advice to some of these young kids. But let's be serious. 92-66 right now is their current record. I think this is a tremendous loss. No offense to Lobaton, but I don't think he can come in and do the production or be as clutch as Ramos can be in the postseason. I think Ramos had a sense of confidence all season. Maybe his numbers weren't as good as they were before the All-Star break, but the numbers are still very, very good. But I just think it's hard to find that confidence and it's hard to find that reliability. Now, if people want to lean on Lobaton and say, "Hey, get us a hit when it matters most," I don't know if he's capable of it. Like I worry about that, and this is gonna bring me into my next question. We're fighting for home field advantage versus the Dodgers. The Dodgers are right there on our tails. Like, we gotta have home field advantage if we want to beat the Dodgers. Right now, they're playing a lot better baseball than we are, and they're more healthy than we are. And so, I'm nervous that this is not going to go well for the Nationals at all. After a tremendous regular season, I just have the feeling that this is going to be just another season for the Nationals where we get ousted first round again. I don't want that, but it's looking like that based on how nicked up we are between Strasburg. I know Murphy will be back to play in the postseason. Harper will be back, but Ramos, I think, is going to be hard to replace in the lineup and get production out of. A lineup that already isn't tremendously productive. They're not bad, but at times they can't lean on a lot of people to get hits. And Ramos was one of those few people they could rely on to really make an impact. Would you agree?
Uh, Earlier in the season, and then maybe later on in the season, but in the sense that I was talking about leadership, it's behind the plate and the confidence in with the pitchers more so than at bat.
That I agree with fully. I mean, this guy knows the tendencies of these pitchers, knows their counts, knows what they like to throw in certain situations, even against certain type hitters, righty, lefty, or low, high ball, fastball type hitters. I agree fully with that. Like that, I
That
completely
was my
agree with.
argument because we both know what wins in the playoffs.
Sure. You got to be able to pitch. You got to be able to pitch extremely well. You got to have starters that take care of business, and then you can have some hits come into play. But yeah, you have to be able to deliver the baseball. So I agree with you. And there's still a week left of the season to really start figuring things out, and we're going to get updates on what our rotation is going to look like against most likely the Dodgers, and we'll keep you guys posted, and then once everything's released, we'll make predictions on how we think the series is going to go. But right now, I'm worried. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm worried. I'm a huge Nats fan. I want us to win. I really do. But there's not a lot of upside to look forward to. I know we start off depressing for the show, but 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 really, like, I'm really nervous about this. Let's move on to one of the next things we're going to talk about is college football, specifically the Terps. We want to focus on the Terps. They play Purdue this weekend. Maryland's favored by 10.5 points. Currently, Maryland 3-0. Purdue 2-1. We're going to dive into more college stuff, top 25 rankings, big matchups for this weekend, and we're going to talk Maryland also. Next thing we're going to dive into after that is going to be NFL. We're going to talk Skins. We're going to talk Skins versus Giants. We're going to talk Skins versus Cleveland. We're going to talk fantasy. We're going to talk NFL rankings. We're going to talk a lot of stuff. But before we get too far, let's give a shout out to another one of our sponsors. Don't go anywhere. You're watching The Jam. Big shout out again to Silver Spring Social Sports. If you guys want to get involved with any of these sports, such as dodgeball, football, volleyball, kickball, anything like that, please feel free to go to silverspringsocialsports.com. You can sign up there. This is the 21 and up league. Just like I said, go to silverspringsocialsports.com and you can sign up and get involved there. Let's move on to our next subject. We're going to talk college football. I mean, lots more excitement to come this weekend. Last weekend was exciting as well, but we're getting more into conference play this week, and what comes with that is lots of big playoff implication and matchups this weekend that are very, very serious, that are kind of do or die type matchups, not necessarily fully, but ones you want to win without a doubt. Let's look at some big matchups this weekend. At 3:30 on Saturday, number 4 Michigan hosts number 8 Wisconsin. Michigan projected to win by 10.5. Give me an idea, Stevie, of what you think is going to happen with this game.
I do think Michigan wins because they're in the big house, but Wisconsin impressed me more than impressed me last week.
I think everybody.
They destroyed Michigan State. It wasn't even close.
Sorry, Spartan fans.
Somehow, D'Antonio disappeared on some videos or whatever it is. But no, I do think Michigan comes out ready. I wouldn't be surprised if Wisconsin wins, but I'm going to go with Michigan in this game because they're at home. What do you think?
I have a very low-scoring affair going on in this game. I think you have two teams that are tremendously talented defensively. You got Jabril Peppers, who is just a stud for Michigan defensively, whether he's playing linebacker or safety. You can move him around wherever you want, and this kid is going to make plays. He punt returns. He does just about everything. The kid is tremendously talented. But you look at Wisconsin, their front seven is extremely ferocious. J.J. Watt's brother plays for Wisconsin. Nuff said. No, just kidding. That does mean a lot. But seriously, give them tons of credit. They shut down Michigan State's run game. They were all over the quarterback. They were tremendous, and they've done it several weeks in a row. They did it against LSU. They shut down Fournette. Like their front seven has been extremely effective. And this is going to be a battle. This is a Big Ten battle royale where it's physical. It's going to be beat you up. It's going to be punch you in the face. This is exactly what you expect to see from Big Ten football, people. So please, at 3:30 on Saturday, if you got nothing to do, tune in. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be low scoring, but you're going to see a lot of big hits, and you're going to see some tremendous plays defensively. But in the big house, just like you said, I got Harborough winning it. I got Michigan winning it. I have them in the playoff, and I think they get it done. I think Wisconsin is extremely talented team, but with a rookie quarterback who's only had one other start, and he looked very, very, very good against Michigan State. You know, I just think he's up against another test against Michigan. I think this defense is going to be a little bit more aggressive than what you saw at Michigan State. They're going to bring a lot of heat on him, and they're going to get this kid uncomfortable. I got Michigan win this matchup. So, it's going to be good. But
Definitely going to be good.
I got Michigan winning. I got Michigan winning. And Wisconsin's put up a great season. Still alive, for playoff implications. They, sitting there at number 8. If they lose to number 4, they can't fall too far. But, big game for Michigan in order to really kind of put a stamp on their schedule and say, hey, look, instead of beating all the chippies that we've played, we're finally going to match up against someone, obviously a top 10 caliber team, but someone worthwhile, and we're going to get a W. And I think this is going to be a tremendous resume builder for Michigan. Let's move on. Number 3, Louisville, taking on number 5, Clemson. 8 o'clock on Saturday. Can you say offense?
Can I say this is the best game all year already? Hasn't even happened yet. Shoot, I'm more than pumped. It's going to be, Lamar Jackson in Death Valley against Clemson, and Dabo and Deshaun and the entire Clemson team who is striving to make up for last year's defeat.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson coming out, nobody's even close to him, in my opinion. I mean, this guy has more touchdowns than it seems like 95% of the FBS schools. So I'm interested to see what happens. If I'm not mistaken, Louisville's possibly favored by a point or two.
2
points. Okay, so
2.
I think that's crazy. Until somebody beats Clemson at home, I'm going to go with Clemson. I'm going to go with Dabo Swinney and Deshaun Watson. And hopefully it's a great game. I hope it's a shootout because I love watching both of them play. And I'm a big fan of watching Lamar play, and I hope he can build his resume for his Heisman. So I'm going to pick the Tigers, but I'm hoping for a shootout and an electric game, which is what I'm expecting.
You got that right for an electric game. Yeah, Louisville right now favored by 2. But going up against a Clemson team that has been there. They were there last year. Watson's been there. He understands the hype of being the Heisman. He understands the hype of going up against Heismans. This guy gets it, and so does Dabo Swinney. Both of these contribuents to that team know exactly what's at stake. They really do. And this environment at Clemson is going to be rowdy. It's going to be very rowdy. This Louisville team is going to be up against something they haven't seen this year. I know a lot of people are buying into a lot of hype of Louisville. I'm not trying to discredit what they've done at all this year. They've obviously been tremendous. They've been so much fun to watch, and Lamar Jackson has been ecstatic. So much fun. He's been so much fun to watch. But this is about business. This is about getting down to the nitty-gritty. This is about we're going to beat you up. This isn't about having fun. This isn't about winning the Heisman. This is about winning big matchups when it matters most. And I think this Clemson team is used to it. I think they're ready for it. I don't think Louisville has played for anything as big as this in the last several years, even when they had Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think they played for anything as big as this. I don't think they're ready for this stage at all. I think they're rolling with house money right now, and they're having fun. And you can see it from Lamar Jackson. He's like, skirt. There's 6. He's having a good time with it. Like, he really is, which is great because it's fun to watch for us. But now it's time to get down against a team that is ready to get in there and ready to take you down. And I just think this Clemson team gets it done at home. I think they've been there before. I think they know what's on the stake more than Louisville does. And I see them winning. I got Clemson winning this matchup, and that's going to stir everything up because Louisville's going to fall to maybe 7 or something, and then Clemson's going to jump to 2, maybe over Ohio State if Ohio State struggles against Rutgers, whatever the case may be. This is going to stir up the pot, and it's going to be exciting. So lots of playoff implications going on this weekend, and I think this is going to be one of them that really stirs the pot, this Clemson win against Louisville. Let's get to our next matchup, Friday. We're jumping backwards a little bit. Your Washington Huskies, who you think are going to make the playoff, take on a Stanford Cardinal team at home that is very reliant on Christian McCaffrey. Give me an idea of what you see against this number 7 Stanford versus number 10 Washington. What do you got?
I have the Huskies obviously winning. Based on my prediction, yeah. You know what? I'm going to actually set that one out. But McCaffrey is responsible for, if I'm not mistaken, 52% of their offense, 60% of their he's touching the ball 60% of the time with Stanford on offense. Mm-hmm. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to give to that guy. Double cover him. I mean, they're not throwing the ball extremely well. They had a little bit of trouble running the ball last week.
They did.
McCaffrey had found a few holes, but all in all, it was a struggle, I believe. And I think this Husky team is a lot better than the Bruins, and I think the Huskies at home get it done. Unfortunately for Christian McCaffrey, there are more games, and you have plenty of time left. But I think Washington gets it done.
Very good prediction. Like Stevie just said, Christian McCaffrey held, I think it was like 165 all-purpose yards last week. UCLA did a very good job Well, but for real, I mean, this dude averages maybe like 250 to 300 yards a game, whether it's on the ground, whether it's kick returns, whether it's receiving. The kid does everything. Held to only 150 or so is really limiting this kid, and that really gives you a chance to win the football game because he is a tremendous part of this team as a Heisman candidate, as one of their best players. If you can keep him in check, you got yourself a chance to win the football game. And I like this Huskies team at home after watching this UCLA team give them a very, very nice picture of how to shut this kid down. I like it. I very much like it. But wait! This kid's a Heisman candidate. Get out of here. You must be kidding me if you think we're not going to make adjustments. Shaw is going to say, okay, UCLA shuts down like this. We're not going to run those plays anymore. Huskies are going to load the box. We're going to do something different. This is a joke if you think they're not going to make adjustments. This Stanford team is ready for anything that they're going to try and throw up against a kid that they already know has all the attention. Everyone's looking at him. They don't care. If you shut him down one game, we're going to make adjustments. We're going to find other ways to give him the football, and he's going to make plays, and he's going to be an impact player, whether you like it or not, Huskies. Stanford at Washington. Stanford wins. Let's move on.
No chance.
Yes, sir. Talking about light matchups that do have some possible playoff implications. Number 14, Miami, is going against Georgia Tech. They're at Georgia Tech. Miami 3-0, Georgia Tech 3-1. Do you see a slip up here, Stevie, or do you see Miami taking care of business?
I don't know if I'd call it a slip up because I think Miami's overrated. Outside of Georgia Tech's first half last week, I don't think that they played bad football all year, but Miami's played nobody. You know, they're the kind of people that are hopping up the rankings by default. So I think Georgia Tech wins this game. They're tough at home. I don't think Miami's ready for it. Brad Kai, I don't think he's ready for the defense that he's about to see. So I'm going to take the Yellow Jackets in this one.
Would you definitely say this is Miami's toughest matchup so far this year?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. I agree with you. This is definitely their toughest matchup. But after seeing Georgia Tech kind of get dismantled last week, I think this Miami team is doing a good job kind of slipping under the radar. You said they're climbing the rankings kind of by default, and I agree with you. But one thing that can be good about that is you just keep going and you slip under the radar and you just kind of keep going and no one's really like keying on you and grilling you that hard and looking at you that hard. And Georgia Tech, I feel like might, maybe not sleep on them, but might not give them enough credit to actually be like, I know they're ranked 14th, but they're not ranked, like they're not a top 10 opponent. They're not national news. No one's talking about them. So I think Miami can, I hate to say squeak another one out, but I think Miami can squeak another one out here. I think we go chalk. I think Miami wins. I think they're 4-0. I just think this isn't a good enough test to knock them off. And so I'm going to take Miami in this one. I think their playoff hopes stay alive through this matchup. Let's move on to the next one. UNC at number 12, Florida State. Florida State favored by 10. Is there any chance for UNC?
There's always a chance.
Okay.
Any given Saturday, I guess, in college, right? No, but
on the road?
I don't think Florida State has trouble with this one. I think they cover the 10 points comfortably. Their defense has looked very vulnerable. They get sloppy sometimes, but when you're playing within your conference and UNC is working with new pieces, I think Florida State wins this one by 17 points.
I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. I think UNC is outmatched here. I think Florida State is going to rebound. I think Jimbo Fisher is really going to get his squad focused and say, hey, look, these small matchups that you think don't mean anything, they mean something. We need to show everyone in the nation that we are going to dog whomever. And UNC is a very credible team, even though they're not ranked right now. But I think this is a statement win for them to say, hey, look, we're right back where you thought we were. We're going to climb back into the top 10, and we're right here trying to make that playoff. So I agree with you. I see a 17-point type win just because I think their attitude and their coach is going to lead them to this type of victory in a statement-type win against UNC. Sorry, Heels fans. Let's move on. Number 11, Tennessee, at number 25, Georgia. The SEC has been overrated, in my opinion, all year. So
you couldn't have said it better. Yeah,
I say number 11, Tennessee, and number 25, Georgia, but what I really mean is unranked Tennessee and unranked Georgia. No, that's that. Okay, please go easy on me, people. But for real, both these teams have had some hiccups. They haven't looked great. If there are two SEC teams that you're like, we don't know what they are, this is possibly them. I mean, you look at Ole Miss, and they had losses. They lost against Alabama, tough Alabama team, but Tennessee almost lost to App State. Georgia's look like trash, and they have had a loss. This is a very confusing matchup. What do you see between the hedges, Tennessee at Georgia right now?
I couldn't agree with you more. Like these are two teams that you can't. I don't even know how you rank them. It's ridiculous. But I see Tennessee winning. I guess because they look like the better team
Go
in their comeback last week. They looked great in their comeback. I was more than impressed by it. Sorry, Gators fans, you guys got destroyed after your run. I think it was 38 unanswered, 35 unanswered.
It was a lot like that.
It was ridiculous. The Vols looked good. Yeah, they were at home. Yeah, it was a rivalry game. But I think Tennessee is the better team here. So I'm going to go with the Vols with the W in Georgia.
Okay. Tennessee favored by 3.5 in this one, just so you know, jammers and jamettes. This one's tough. Just like Steve said, sometimes it is so hard to predict the SEC, and I feel like this year, more than a lot of others, you really can't predict it because you look at what these committees are saying about these teams that are putting them in these rankings, and you kind of wonder about it. But what you have to do, you have to use the eye test about these type of matchups. And my eye test is Tennessee, they were weak to start the season, came out soft, went into kind of a very, very hostile environment against Virginia Tech at Bristol Motor Speedway and really took care of business. No offense, Tech fans, but they took care of business. You guys didn't hold on to the football. They did. They capitalized on y'all mistakes. That's the way it went. And then last week, Florida came out a little bit soft. In the second half, they dominated. They said, no. No more you guys beating us. We're tired of 11. We're done with it. It's over. This isn't the Tennessee team that you're used to seeing. Done. No more of that. It's time for us to show everyone, hey, this is a different team this year. They're playing with a lot more intensity than what we saw to start the season when they came out weak against App State. And this Georgia team still has no identity, no Nick Chubb, nothing. Definitely. I think Stevie's right. Tennessee wins this game, even though it's at Georgia. This is going to be a statement win for Tennessee because I think Georgia's going to get some credit going in. But still, winning on the road against Georgia is worth a lot. This Tennessee team has a lot to prove this weekend, and this is going to be a tremendous win for these Tennessee Vols this weekend. Don't get it wrong. Let's move on to something more important. Terps. I mean, like for real, like they're more important than Tennessee. But Terps play Purdue this weekend. Currently 3-0 Maryland team. Haven't had a tremendous challenge that they've had to face. Have looked fine, slipped up a little bit on the road against UCF, but really haven't faced a significant test to really get momentum for their season and really say, hey, this is where we're at. Now they have a chance against a Purdue team that is okay, but it's a conference game, so anything could really happen. You got a 2-1 Purdue team. Maryland favored by 10.5 points. Give me your thoughts on this game, Stevie.
This is going to be, I guess, our first somewhat of a test. Like you said, we haven't played anybody of, I guess, challenge worthy, if you will. I think Purdue is probably the lower tier of what we will be playing. The higher of the lower tier, if I can say that. We should win this game. Whether we do or not is another story. We've been very responsible with the football, haven't turned the ball over much, if at all. Just keep handing the ball off. Our run game's working. So I'm going to, say that we win this game. That would be my prediction. But you know how sports are around here in Maryland and D.C., and I'm going to go with the win here. We should win this game. But I won't be surprised if we somehow slip up and turn the ball over 5 times.
Wow, I'm really upset you just said that. I just slipped back to my notes. Looks like I have written down here total turnovers of 0 so far in the season. So 5 would be quite the balancer, but quite the upsetter at the same time. I hope that's not the case. Uh, I have this game being slightly tighter than I want it to be. Maryland has not been great against the spread so far this year, and I really don't know if Maryland's ready to face a very formidable opponent, and Purdue isn't that much better than Maryland. I mean, they aren't. Like, I don't think they're better than Maryland, but they are going to be the toughest competition we faced all year. And I just think this Maryland team, who's young, is going to struggle a little bit with this matchup. I think they still win. I have a final score here of 30-24, so slightly closer than what the spread is saying. And I think this Maryland team is good. I think we can effectively run the football, and I think we can outpower them. But I still wonder about our defense. I still wonder what this defense is made of, even though Durkin has a defensive background. I just haven't seen it so far this year of this Maryland team, and so I do think we win as well. I don't think we cover, and I have us at 31-24, but with a W. And this will launch us into the Big Ten play, 1-0, and kind of with some momentum, and good for Durkin. Like, right now I saw Maryland is now getting votes in the top 25. They're getting 2 votes, which isn't a lot, but it's something. But
Yours truly.
Yours, but it's something. And if we win this, who knows what could happen with some of the teams that are ahead of us in terms of the committee and the voting process. But it's just good to start getting a little bit of national attention. And this win could be something that says, hey, look, we're still here, we're still hanging on, whether or not people respect us or not. We keep facing opponents, and we're just gonna keep trying to win games. And so I have us, 4-0 after this weekend. Not necessarily covering the spread, but I have us winning this football game.
I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right, but it's got to give at some point, because as soon as we're down and we can't run the ball every play or every other play and be comfortable in the run game, we're going to have to start throwing it.
I agree with you. And despite the 102 QBR rating from Perry Hills, we all know Perry Hills very well. I'm not excited about that. You all know exactly what I'm talking about.
Snowball effect here.
Yeah. He is not our leader that we're looking for at quarterback necessarily. I hope he can keep up the work that he's doing. And if we can keep the ball out of his hands and effectively run the football, I think we can keep winning football games. But I'm worried that if that doesn't work and we do go down big, it's going to be hard to climb back. I think Stevie's right. If we do go down,
that's where the 5 turnovers come in.
Stop saying that.
All right, I'll say 4.
Stop saying that. 2, maybe 2 at most. I will take a bet right now. It says we are 1.5 or less turnovers against Purdue.
I'll take over 1.5.
Okay, definitely. You heard it right here, Jammer fans. Tell us what you want between the two of us. 1.5 turnovers for the Maryland game. I'm taking the under. Stevie's taking the over. So if it's 2 or more, Stevie wins, and you guys tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. And if it's less, you gotta tell Stevie what you want him to do, and he's gonna do it. He's here. He's the champ. But before we go any further, we want to talk about NFL stuff. Let's give another shout out to another one of our sponsors. Don't go anywhere. You're watching The Jam. Welcome back, Jammer fans. Another big shout out to another one of our sponsors, Junk Masters. For all your junk removal needs, if you need anything, just call Junk Masters. Our business is picking up. So let's move on. NFL. Let's talk first. Skins versus Giants. Let's recap. W.
W.
29-27. Skins with the W over the Giants. A much-needed win here. You look at the season, and if we were 0-3 going into the matchup against Cleveland this weekend, this is kind of foreshadowing what we're going to talk about, but going into this matchup against Cleveland, 1-2 looks much better than 0-3, obviously. But let's recap that game against the Giants. How do you think our Skins played? Give me an idea of everything, how they look.
I wasn't overly ecstatic about our performance, but I wasn't disappointed as I have been in the previous 2 weeks. I understand that we had some injuries, unfortunately, with D Hall going down, Clayton Steiger going down. I'm going to say that we didn't win the game. They kind of lost the game as we did in week 2 against Dallas. So while I'm happy with the win, our run game needs to get going. I know we throw the ball more than anybody else in the league, percentage-wise. So we need to get the ground game working so we're not so dependent on the pass. And we need to get our defense shaped up a little bit, with the injuries and D'Angelo Hall going down with the ACL for the rest of the year. It's going to be an uphill battle from here. I'm not disappointed in our performance, but squeaking out a win and, people making plays when we need them to make plays, I'm happy about the win.
I think that's the biggest thing to look at, what you just said, your last statement. People making plays. I think that's what we've been waiting for all season, is people making plays. And I think that ties into our quarterback play. Cousins, 296, 300 yards. Basically 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. This is the play we've needed from him in order to make our receivers make plays as well. Deshaun caught the deep one. Reed had a couple nice catches, had some highlights. But also you look at Crowder. We got the balls in the hands of our playmakers, and it worked out for us. And you can call it whatever you want. Okay, we got lucky, but the key is we got the ball in the hands of our playmakers, and that is the point of the NFL. The key is at a quarterback position, you hike it. You're not going to stiff arm 11 players and score a touchdown. Not everyone could be Cam Newton. But for real, that's unrealistic. What you need to do as the quarterback, you got to hike it and you got to get it in the hands of your playmakers. So hike, okay, we drop back, we see Deshaun going deep, bloop, we give him a chance to make a play, he makes a play. Hike, okay, 3rd and long, let me throw it out real quick to Crowder. Dude catches it, makes plays. That is the key to our success, is getting the ball in the hands of our playmakers. We're a very simplistic team. We aren't the Patriots. We can't rely on some kind of superstardom. We don't have some kind of Brady-type superstardom.
You mean Belichick.
Or Belichick. What we have is the ability to run through ourselves and use ourselves as a team in order to make things happen, and it's exactly how it's drawn up in the NFL. Is when you hike the football, you get it into the hands of your playmakers, and we did that. And you could talk about a lot of other stats. I know the Giants struggled with a lot of penalties. They had a lot of penalties. We had some penalties too. We had a couple things go our way. We had a couple of interceptions that went our way. We had a fake punt that that kind of went our way, but we caught them off guard. It was well timed. There's a lot of things that you could say about this game, but the point is, it was a desperate team who needed a win, that when they needed big plays, they made big plays. It's that simple. When they needed big plays, they made big plays. We saw life from this team that we wanted to see, in the postseason last year, that we saw at the end of last season last year, that we wanted to start this season with, that we hadn't seen so far, but finally we have seen. against that Giants team on the road. We saw plays being made, and honestly, that's the point. Whatever you want to focus on, everyone who wants to be so critical, make it simple. The simple point is we made plays. Like, sure, we gave up some yards. Sure, it wasn't good, but when they got close to the goal line, we had Dunbar making picks, and then when they were driving to try and tie the game, we had Cravens, our rookie, making an interception. We had people making plays. Like, finally, we just had people stepping up and making plays, and that's really all I care about. You can go long ways having people just stepping up and being impact type players. And in my opinion, like I'm just focusing on the fact that we looked revived in terms of just being someone who's like, hey, look, we're not boring. We can make this exciting. We have big play capability, and we're going to make plays. So you better respect the fact that we're going to make plays, and they did. How do you feel about it, Steve? Am I right?
To an extent, I'm on your side. I have a lot of questions, both offensively and defensively.
I know we didn't run the ball well.
No, but at the same time, if the long shots are working and Djax is getting behind the defense, why not take more shots? We're not taking enough shots down the field.
Well, we took shots against Dallas, and we didn't hook up, but we hooked up this time.
Yeah, and then we're gonna hook up, this week hopefully, with a pretty weak Cleveland secondary. So I'm interested to see how we go about that, because we have a serious weapon in Deshaun Jackson. I don't think that we utilize him enough. Jameson Crowder is, I would say, a smaller, not as impactful Deshaun Jackson, because the guy has similar.
Well, he's a slot receiver, but if you give him the ball in the field, he can make plays.
This guy's a playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of playmakers. It's just a matter of, are you going to give him the ball 5 yards, 7 yards down the field, or are you gonna ask him to run a 12-yard seam and see what he can do with it after that? So I don't like our aggression on offense, because Kirk Cousins is a short passer. This guy likes short routes. Based on Gruden's offensive tactics here and as well as in Cincinnati. But I'm not as impressed with the win as you are, but I'm hopeful.
I'm not saying that I'm impressed. I'm not saying I'm that impressed. What I'm saying is I'm happy to see life out of the Skins team. I'm happy to see us making plays like we thought we were going to make plays this year. We thought we were going to hook up with Jackson deep and make plays. We thought that some of our rookie safety / linebacker hybrid type drafted players are going to make plays, and they did. We thought Crowder, who was a special talent coming out of Duke, was going to make plays, and he did. And we thought Cousins was going to take care of the football, and he did. I'm not saying I'm amazed. I'm not like, ooh, wow, we look like a Super Bowl contending team. All I'm saying is, finally, we did some stuff that we expected to do.
All I'm saying is I want to see us win a game, not another team lose a game.
And
that's what I want to see.
And I hear you on that. But I feel like in a game like what we saw, it was kind of a matter of whoever had the football last was kind of going to win. I was nervous when the Giants had the ball with a minute 15 seconds left. I'm like, dang, Odell had been tearing it up in the last third, halfway through the third and fourth quarter. This dude got all his yards. He was shut down virtually the whole first half.
Was this before or after he got abused by that kicking net?
Well, the kicking net honestly was playing to our favor. Obviously, we had some kind of input on that. He beat the hell out of him. Yeah. But he started making an impact, and I thought it was going to play out where whoever had the ball last was going to win, and our defense stepped up, which they really hadn't done all year. And it came from almost the least expected thing you'd see is our rookie. It came from a rookie. And so I'm excited. And now we have Cleveland. Let's move on. Now we play Cleveland. And most likely, I like our chances against Cleveland. Most likely we're going to be 2-2, and the whole season looks completely different. Completely different. 2-2 is going to be completely different than 1-3, especially considering now the Giants have to play the Vikings, and this is gonna the NFC East is gonna look completely different this coming week, versus what it looked like with the Giants and Eagles at 2-0. Last week. I know the Eagles had a big win against the Steelers. Congratulations! Like they do look really good. But in terms of us having a chance to stay in the hunt, um, it couldn't have been a better time for a win. Like we needed a win desperately. We got a win. We look like a desperate team who obviously has a lot to work on. I'm not saying that we don't, but they made big plays. A team that has a lot to work on, but finally found a way to make big plays, and they did. So let's look at this Cleveland matchup. What do you see taking fourth at home against the Bobberts?
There's no reason we should lose this game. This is going to be ridiculous. If we lose this game, I'm going to be furious. If we can squeak out a win in New York, well, it's actually New Jersey, but at the Giants, yeah. There's no reason. Cleveland has looked decent progressively, throughout the season. They put up points. Last week was a bit of a struggle with Kessler at quarterback. I'm not coaching their team, but I think Pryor would probably be more of a weapon back there than.
Actually, he tore it up at wide receiver. So
yeah. But at the same time, you put the ball in the hands of your playmakers, as you were alluding to earlier.
no, okay, I hear you.
So,
but Kessler did. I mean, he gave Pryor the ball, and Pryor made plays. I mean,
I'm not against it, but
okay.
At the same time, this guy's not a reliable piece in the backfield. He's not, in my opinion, he's not going to be good enough to beat even what I would consider subpar defense. This guy's not going to go out there and win a game against an NFL defense.
Okay, but either it's Pryor, he's had his chance, and he didn't. So how can you say, oh, okay, instead of Kessler, you should put Pryor back there?
Because Pryor's better than Kessler.
Is he? Because his NFL career was amazing at the quarterback position.
Are you accidentally throwing Pryor back there next week against the Redskins at quarterback, or is this a plan?
I think Kessler looked fine at the quarterback position. I think the reason Pryor is playing wide receiver is because he isn't even good enough to be a third-string quarterback anymore.
Over under 7.5 Pryor lines up as quarterback next week. Plays.
There is zero chance he plays quarterback next week.
100% chance. I guarantee you he plays at quarterback for at least 5 plays.
I'll take under.
Okay.
I will definitely take under. Simply because I think they might still be in this game a little bit. Just because I'm giving Cleveland credit. Like, they haven't looked that bad this season. Like, all of their games have been pretty close, within 10 points. I think they've been pretty good on the spread this year. I don't know the exact figures.
Nor do I.
But I just know this Cleveland team hasn't looked that bad. Like they really haven't. They've given themselves opportunities to win a lot of games. They were in a good chance to win that game against the Ravens.
Whoa. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Didn't go their way. Philly took care of them pretty well week 1. But last week they had a chance to win again, and they didn't. So give me a prediction, Stevie, score-wise. You're so confident. Let me know how bad we're going to put a hurting on them.
Bad? I don't think it's going to be bad. I'm going to take 31-23 Skins.
Okay. That's a pretty good number. I think we're going to pound them worse than that. I got 31-20.
Okay.
So I hear your number, but 20 is about what they're scoring, which is, I mean, pretty legitimate for the NFL. It's not bottom of the epsilon. It's not top of the epsilon. It's sitting right there in the middle. For a team that's 0-3, sitting in the middle in points. Obviously, they need to work on their defense a little bit, but they've been in football games. Like, they've had chances to win football games, and they simply haven't. But I see our Skins going to 2-2, and I really like the outlook of the season at 2-2 versus 1-3. I think it relieves pressure on a lot of guys, especially Cousins at 2-2, relieves a lot of pressure off our quarterback. And so at 31-20 versus the Browns, Skins moved to 2-2. I think that really changes the way our locker room feels about this season. So let's move on. Let's talk about power rankings in the NFL. Who are your current standouts right now in the power rankings?
Standouts in a positive manner.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Eagles. As I mentioned previously, these guys aren't joking around. Carson Wentz is looking like an NFL quarterback, and their defense is playing extremely well. So
yeah, their front seven is.
I am more than impressed. I can't even say I don't know what's going on in Philly. Chip Kelly must be kicking himself right now. I don't know what's going on in Philly, but I'm excited for Philly fans for your team. But in the end, I don't think you guys are as good as you have come out to be. But you guys have made a serious statement in the beginning of this season. Do you have a positive?
I do have a positive. You know, I like the Eagles. I think that's a very positive. But I'm gonna take the Vikings. For a team that came into a season game plan with a certain lineup. One being their starting quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. The other being their starting running back, Adrian Peterson. Pro Bowler, yeah, for sure.
I've heard of that guy before.
I think he's new, but he's really good. Like, you guys should research him. Adrian Peterson and Teddy Bridgewater out, and this team is still 3-0. This defense doesn't give a crap about who's back there, about who's playing offense. All they know is they hate the other team they're playing, and they're coming out ferocious. They're playing tremendous. This defense has been awesome. And fantasy implications, if they're available in your league, pick them up now. Like, now. They've been awesome so far in fantasy, forcing a lot of turnovers, causing chaos. This defense has really uplifted this team. And for me, in terms of the positive, and in the power rankings right now for the NFL, they're currently fourth in the power rankings at 3-0 with a, I guess you could say, backup, but what used to be starter Sam Bradford and the Eagles, now backup turned to starter for the Vikings. They don't skip a beat. Like, they haven't skipped a beat. And so for me, my standout positively is going to be the Vikings. Let me move on to it.
Before you move on, I'd like to ask you a quick question because I didn't know you were going to say the Vikings.
Oh, okay.
Who do you think won that trade? Who would you pick, Sam Bradford or Carson Wentz? Who made the better trade here, the Vikings or the Eagles?
I still think the Eagles made the better trade. Not that I don't have faith in Sam Bradford, but I don't have faith in Sam Bradford. I know right now everything's hunky-dory because their defense is playing at an extremely high level, and we've seen defenses lead teams to a lot of championships. We've seen Seattle in the last couple of years, elevate their game, win Super Bowl. Denver, elevate their game, win Super Bowl. I'm not hinkling that the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying we've seen defenses take over football games and give their offenses chance to win these games and to be 3-0. It's so early in the season. These accolades are, they're early. It's very very early. But at 3-0, I do think that's impressive. But I do think the Eagles won out on that trade.
I didn't mean to surprise you with that one.
No, that's fine. I've already come to grips with that. As soon as it happened, I'm like, whoa, okay, the Eagles. Why wouldn't you? And Wentz has worked out for them, so they kind of roll the dice. It's worked out for the Eagles tremendously. Obviously, if there's any kind of management and ownership that has been the best this year, Patriot fans, You lose to the Eagles. I'm going to give it to the Eagles. I mean, they roll the dice getting rid of Bradford and starting Carson Wentz. They're 3-0. They put reliability in their defense, which I know the Patriots have done years upon years. But, I know it's a completely different subject, but, you're talking about what happened with that trade. The Eagles, I think, have won out that, and I think so far this year, in terms of risk reward, the Eagles are in the best position in terms of trading up to get Wentz, giving up Bradford, the whole nine. They are the team that kind of looks the smartest at the moment right now. No offense, Patriots. I know you guys are keen to making things happen always, and that's just the way it is. But right now, the Eagles don't look bad at all. So, give me your negative, Stevie. Who is like, are you kidding me? What is this?
My negative is not so much as what is this, but I think it's an overreaction to the beginning of their season. The Ravens are ranked number 10 in the power rankings.
Okay.
They've played 3 teams with a collective win total of 1. They've played Buffalo, which is 1 and 2. They won 12-7 week 1. They played Cleveland, and they played Jacksonville. I didn't expect Jacksonville to come out like that, as I would expect the majority of any football fan, thinking they would come out 0-3. But at the same time, you shouldn't be number 10. Yes, you take care of business. I get it. But it kind of goes back to the whole moving up the rankings by default. In my opinion, the Ravens have not been what would I say, convincing in their wins. They have not been dominant. They have not been anything short of. I wouldn't even know how to explain their wins. Lucky, kind of. They've played a weak schedule. Tyrod's Taylor in Buffalo's gotten off to a slow start, as has Bortles in Jacksonville. Cleveland, we all know what's going on in there. They're picking up some guy off the side of the road to start a quarterback next week, I think. So,
Robert?
yeah. Oh, don't even get me started. But, no disrespect to Ravens fans, but, as well as I do that this has been an easy start for you guys. The win against Buffalo was the most convincing of yours, and they've had a rough go to begin the season. So I'm going to say the Ravens are overrated at number 10.
I don't think I can deny that. This is a very Ravens type team though. Like even when they won the Super Bowl, they just they kind of find ways to win, and and when they won the Super Bowl, they found ways to win. But they also had some really good play from Joe Flacco in the postseason the year they won the Super Bowl. But getting there, they just simply found ways to win, and this is no kind of like marketing campaign for the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. But I hear what you're saying. It's kind of like yeah, okay, like yeah, you're there, but like yeah, like okay, who cares? So would a lot of other teams be 3-0 right now after what you've been through. So I hear that completely, but my kind of like shocking start slash what's going on type team is gonna be Jacksonville. Like I honestly had high hopes for this team. They had a really nice offseason, nice free agency offseason, and I expected big things from this team, especially from Bortles. Looked like he had really started maturing towards the end of last season, but so far it has not come to fruition. Like hasn't looked good at all. Like throwing a lot of picks still, not hooking up with his young, very very talented receivers. This Jacksonville team at 0-3 really makes me scratch my head. I know they played the Packers, which is a very tough matchup week 1, and that was almost one of their best games.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just it's kind of head scratching, kind of mind numbing, figuring out why they're not doing better, considering their roster and the talent that they have. It's kind of surprising that they're 0-3.
My testament to that could possibly it's not the reason, but bringing Chris Ivory back and them going into the season and all of a sudden, game day morning, he gets sick and nobody knows what it is. I think it's going to, have a small ripple since he's not, extremely injured, but at the same time, Yeldon's not who they expected to start the season with. And as you mentioned, Bortles 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. If you throw more picks and touchdowns, you're not going to win many games. So I'd have to agree with you. I don't know what's going on down there in Jacksonville either.
No, you're right. All those numbers are just, just more evidence towards why they're not winning football games. But it's confusing why those numbers are those numbers. So I got Jacksonville at 0-3, and I'm just kind of like, can they really battle back and possibly win this division with now J.J. Watt being out for the year? More injuries
Possibly.
are coming into play. Do they have a chance? We'll have to wait and see after this week. It's hard to say right now, but lots of work to do for sure by this Jacksonville team. Well, let's move on to our next segment, our 5 Fast Fantasy Forecast. And Stevie, I want to ask you, in terms of the QB position, let's get into some fantasy talk. Would you rather start Dak Prescott at San Francisco or Osweiler for Houston versus Tennessee?
I'm going with Prescott. I think Prescott Osweiler hasn't impressed me so much this year. He's struggled a little bit. He hasn't played terribly. John Elway's even alluded to, sometimes the best deals are the ones that aren't made. I'm not. That's no knock to Osweiler because Simeon's playing extremely well. So I'm going to go with Dak because their run game has not gotten going so far as what they expected. So I'm going to go with Dak here.
All right, fantasy owners, you heard it right there. What do you got for me in terms of the quarterback
position? I have your boy Kirk Cousins versus Cleveland, or Phillip Rivers versus New Orleans.
This New Orleans defense has just been getting gashed. I like the momentum that Cousins has right now. This is a tough one. I'm going to take Cousins versus Cleveland. I think this New Orleans team has too much pride. They're 0-3 right now. Eventually, they have to step it up defensively. And this Skins team, I think, is about to ride some really nice momentum. And I think it starts with Cousins. I think Cousins finally was like, I got that first win out of the way. I hooked up with Deshaun for a little bit of a 50-yarder. Like, everything's okay. Like, we're all right. Let's get back on page. I have Cousins over Rivers. I think New Orleans has too much pride, and I think Cousins is rolling the wave right now. So let's ride it and go with it. Cousins.
I like it. All right, how about running back? I got Jordan Howard, who just earned the spot because Langford's out, versus Detroit, or Christine Michael at the Jets.
Wow, this is tough because you got two fantasy acquisitions that previously probably weren't on a lot of people's rosters, but with the coming news of starting running backs being out, they are a high commodity in terms of fantasy pickups. And who does Howard got? Who Chicago got?
Howard's at home versus Detroit, or Christine Michael at the Jets with a little bit of a banged-up Russell Wilson.
Very, very interesting. I think I'm going to go with Howard. So far, what I've seen from Detroit is they're willing to get into some high scoring games. Matthew Stafford, I think, is the leading quarterback right now in terms of fantasy points. Like this guy is not afraid to go into a high scoring affair. And so, based on Chicago and Detroit's defensive capabilities, I like Howard over Michael. I think the Jets are much more of a punch you in the face type team. So is Seattle. They're okay with low scoring affairs. They lost to the Rams 9-3. Like I like Howard over Michael this week.
I like it. All right, my second one, since we're doing 2 running backs, 2 receivers.
Okay.
I'll go with Jerry McKinnon at the Giants, or Frank Gore at Jacksonville.
That's very tough. very, very, very tough. I think a lot of this, when I look at that McKinnon matchup versus the Giants, obviously the Vikings have been led by a very, very stout defense. And sometimes when you see these stout defenses playing so well that if offenses can get a lead, they'll want to run the ball and they'll want to maintain the clock because they have faith in their defense to be able to shut people down. So I think McKinnon is going to get a lot of touches, but I think this Giants team is really, really going to fight back. Who's McKinnon going against?
The Giants, and then Frank Gore at Jacksonville.
Gore at Jacksonville. Gore has actually had a very productive season, and I think this Colts team, as much as I want Jacksonville to start winning football games, I'm starting to lose faith in them. And I think this Colts team, so far, Gore's looked very good, and Andrew Luck has not, but Gore has been able to make some plays to really take a lot of pressure off Andrew Luck. I'm gonna take Gore.
Gore.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Gore in a high scoring affair. I think finally Bortles takes care of the football, and I think it goes back and forth, and I think Gore has a couple goal line touches to really put him over the edge.
All right, I like it.
Let me ask you some running back matchups. First one being Le'Veon Bell, fresh off his suspension versus Kansas City, or C.J. Anderson versus a Tampa Bay Bucks team that has not looked good.
I'm going with Le'Veon Bell. The man's back. He's been working hard. Coaching staff has already alluded to him being high on the endurance chart. He's been working out. He's excited to get back. Not worried about his missed drug tests. So I'm going with Le'Veon Bell, and I'm more than pumped to watch it.
Okay, I'm going to give you a similar matchup. You had McKinnon, and I have McKinnon as well versus the Giants, or Jamal Charles at Pittsburgh. Two starting running backs, one coming fresh off injury, kind of being a little rusty, or McKinnon, as a backup.
Shoot, McKinnon against a decent run defense, or more than average run defense. I don't even know if Charles plays this week. I'm not even confident that he plays.
If he plays.
If he plays, I'll go with Charles.
Okay, Jamal Charles. Let's move on to wide receiver. My first matchup for you, Will Fuller versus Tennessee, or Michael Floyd versus the Rams.
I'm going to go with Michael Floyd. I got Michael Floyd here. Carson's got to turn it around. Larry can't catch every touchdown. It's been somewhat a fluke for me for the Cardinals. They're sitting at 1-2. Carson had a terrible week last week. So I'm gonna go with Floyd. He's got to move the ball around. Brown's gonna get some. The other Brown's gonna get some. So I'm gonna go with Floyd.
Okay. Let's look at the next wide receiver matchup. Cole Beasley versus San Fran, or Eddie Royal versus Detroit. I have two slot receivers, and Prescott really likes Beasley. I mean, he looks for him a lot, and maybe this could be the week they catch up with a touchdown and 50 yards, and who knows? What do you got?
If I'm not mistaken, Beasley is the number one receiver for the Cowboys in targets as well as receptions.
Yeah.
If Dez is out, 100% Beasley. If Dez is out there, 100% Beasley. I'm going with Beasley.
Okay, Beasley, you heard it.
All right, my receivers I got for you, Devontae Parker at Cincinnati, or, as you mentioned earlier, Michael Floyd versus the Rams.
I think after the 1-2 start from Arizona, I think there's question marks to start being raised about their offensive line. I know they just had a very, very upsetting loss on their offensive line. There was a medical issue, and they lost one of their offensive linemen. Very, very sad situation with that. But I just think Palmer hasn't had a chance to really, really get going, and I think a lot of that has been his offensive line. I don't think it's any mistake on their wide receivers. So right now I'm very hesitant to start a wide receiver from Arizona unless it's Larry Fitzgerald. He's been very, very good. So I'm gonna go in the opposite direction. Like I, I simply don't think Floyd is gonna get it done. After a couple weeks of him mediocre production, I just don't see it getting done. So no, no Floyd.
All right, we're going with Parker on that one.
Yeah.
All right, second one, Steve Smith versus Oakland, or Brandon Marshall versus Seattle.
That's tough. You're looking at a very very defensive matchup in that Seattle versus Jets game, and it's hard to root against Brandon Marshall, but I really feel like Fitzpatrick is lacking confidence right now
After his
after
6 interceptions last week. Yeah.
I honestly I can't even count that
What
high.
color are we wearing?
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. I I don't know how you can't start Brandon Marshall, but if you can find any other option, find any other option, and in this instance, I just I don't see it happening with Marshall. I just see the Fitzpatrick confidence train still sputtering, and I'm going against Marshall. I'm
All right,
sorry.
so Steve Smith in that one.
Yeah, Steve Smith.
All right, well, what about some sit 'em stardoms?
Let's go with some sit starts, our next segment where we talk about what we're very confident in. The players who are going to flop and the players who are just going to absolutely exude confidence, score points for you. You don't have to hesitate. Start them, start them, start them. Our sit starts. Stevie, what do you got at quarterback for me at the sit position and then at the start position?
The sit position, I have Matt Ryan versus Carolina. He's been a top two, if not top one or three quarterbacks fantasy wise this year. Not even throwing to Julio Jones last week. I think he had one catch. I'm gonna go with sitting Matt Ryan, and I think Carolina's pissed about last week in their loss against Sam Bradford and the Vikings. So I'm gonna sit Matt Ryan this week.
Okay, your start.
My start is not really who I think is gonna do outstanding and may not lead the week in quarterback production fantasy wise, but somebody who I think is going to surprise a lot of people. And I'm going to go with famous Jameis Winston versus Denver. I think he has 290 and 3 touchdowns. I'm going to go with famous Jameis as my starter.
Wow, against Denver, going against the grain there. Very, very aggressive prediction there. Okay. No surprise. I'm gonna do mine. My QB sit start. This shouldn't surprise many people. Please sit Ryan Fitzpatrick. Going against Seattle now. I mean, no offense to Kansas City, you guys have a tremendous defense, but Seattle has been proven over the years that they are a very, very tremendous defense. Please, please sit Ryan Fitzpatrick. Find another option, and wait, I have an option for you. In most leagues, Trevor Siemian is available. My start is going to be Trevor Siemian versus the Bucks. The Bucks have been getting ripped to shreds, and after their Denver's last game, it looks like they kind of released Siemian a little bit and said, "Hey, go ahead and do work. Like, go ahead and do work." And he has targets to throw to. He's got Thomas, he's got Sanders, and I just see Siemian picking up on the momentum that he had from last game, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and against this Bucks defense that is already lacking confidence. Bench Fitzpatrick, pick up Siemian for this week, no doubt about it. Stevie, what do you got at the running back position for me?
I am starting Spencer Ware at Pittsburgh because I don't think Jamal plays. That's
Okay,
the only
okay.
reason. I think, Pittsburgh's vulnerable on defense. As you saw, the Eagles destroy them. Sproles with that long 70-yard touchdown. I think they're very vulnerable on defense. I don't know what their offense was doing, not that it even matters. But I'm going to go with Spencer Ware. Given that Jamal doesn't play, I don't even think if he plays he'll get more than 8 touches. But I'm going to go with Spencer Ware
Gotcha.
as my stardom. My sit 'em, Same team as your Sidham quarterback. I'm going to go with Forte versus Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
I think Seattle's going to focus on shutting down the run because, my gosh, why not have the guy who threw 6 interceptions throw the ball even more? So I think they stack the box. I'm going to go with sit Matt Forte this week. I just don't think that Seattle is going to let them run the ball on them, and they're gonna look to pick 6 more off. So, what do you have for running back and receivers for me?
No, at my running back position, and just so you jammers know, we're gonna post Stevie's interview with Andy Reid about Spencer Ware and Jamal Charles, like directly after the show. So he has insight on this. But I'm gonna go with my running back start position. I'm gonna keep rolling with DeMarco Murray. He's looked great for the Titans so far in terms of fantasy implications, and this Houston team just had a big loss. I mean, they just lost J.J. Watt, possibly for the season. Whatever Watt wants to say, the man's a competitor, and I'm sure he wants to come back and play. But I think most likely he might be done for the season based on what we're hearing. I know he's optimistic about it, and the dude's a freak, but chances are he's going to be done. But either way, he's going to miss this game against the Titans, and anytime Watt isn't going to be out there, it makes it a lot easier to run the football because he's an impact player, obviously defensive player of the year, several years, and anytime you can, not have him, stacking up the run and blocking the run. I like your chances against a running back that's already had a very good year for.
Absolutely, I love the way Tennessee's utilizing him.
For DeMarco Murray, but I'm with you on Forte. Like I have to agree with you on Forte. I also have Forte versus Seattle. I think the Seattle defense is going to learn from Kansas City. They're going to take footage from that KC game and absolutely make it heck for Fitzpatrick and for Forte, and I just don't see it happening for Forte this week. I really don't like it. So those are mine. Start Murray if you got him, and then if you have Forte, try and find someone else.
Double whammy there.
Yeah.
Sit Forte.
Yep, definitely do it. Sit Forte. And what do you got for me at wide receiver, Stevie?
Receiver, stardom. My man did work last week, not as much as Marvin Jones, but T.Y. Hilton had a week last week. I'm starting him this week against Jacksonville because, they're not playing much defense in Jacksonville. Aaron Rodgers didn't put up a lot of yards, but he was very efficient in his red zone offense. So I'm going to go with T.Y. Hilton. He may not have, 120 yards, but I'm going to go with over. I'm going to say he has 2 touchdowns this week. And my sit, oh shoot, man.
That's aggressive. Over 2 touchdowns.
I'm gonna go with 2 touchdowns.
I'm gonna trade for him this week. Over 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I would trade for him. I'd also move Matt Forte, and I'd trade for DeMarco Murray for what it's worth, fellas.
Okay.
And ladies.
You're welcome.
No, but I hate to stay on the same train and the same track, but I'm gonna go with sit Brandon Marshall versus Seattle. The guy's hurting. He's having some knee issues. He's barely mobile. He had to come out of the game a little bit last week. Richard Sherman may not trail him around, shadow him, but I'm going to go with as you mentioned, the lack of confidence in Ryan Fitzpatrick, the ability of the Seattle defense. They're going to stack the box. Ryan's struggling. Brandon Marshall's hurting, so I'm going to go with sit Brandon Marshall.
Okay, I like it. For my wide receiver sit start, I actually am going to go against your prediction at quarterback. I don't think Jameis Winston has a very good outing again. I think this Denver defense is going to enforce their will again, and Jameis has not looked that solid so far this season. Sit Mike Evans. Sit Mike Evans against Denver. I simply don't like it. This defense has just been on another level. Like, if you have anyone against them, please try and find anyone else. So my sit is Mike Evans against Denver. I really don't like it. My start gets back to our 5 Fast Fantasy forecast. Steve Smith Sr.
No.
against Oakland. I think this man, he gashed them last year in 2015. I think he picks up exactly where he left off, and this year they don't have Charles Woodson. So start Steve Smith Sr., please, if you have him or if he's possibly available. Pick him up and start him in your leagues because I think he's going to have a really, really nice game, especially compared to Evans. Sorry, Steve, if you have Evans in your leagues.
Guarantee you Evan catches a touchdown.
Ooh, I'm not gonna make another bet. I'm not gonna make another bet. I just think the chips are against him. I'm just saying the chips are against him. I'm not saying he's not capable of making a play. I just think there's safer plays out there. That's all I'm saying. I would sit him because there's safer plays.
Agreed.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, you've heard everything, Jammer fans. We've talked about fantasy. We talked about college. Lots to look forward to this weekend. I promise you it's going to be electric. We got the Ryder Cup also.
Okay, yeah.
You know, the Ryder Cup also starting this week, so USA. USA. Lots to get excited for this weekend. Tons of sports to watch, whether it's golf, whether it's football, anything. Baseball, there's a lot of exciting
Almost
baseball.
October. Get ready for
Almost
some baseball.
October. Get ready for baseball. Come on, Nats. Please rally. But please, we ask you guys follow us on YouTube, the Cam Sports Jam. Please subscribe to our channel. Leave us any kind of comments. Interact with us as much as you can. We'd love to talk to you guys, answer any questions that you have about fantasy matchups, whatever the case may be. Please let us know. You can also follow us on Facebook, Cam Sports Jam, Twitter also, Cam Sports Jam. Well, I think that's all we got for him today, Stevie.
Until next time.
Until next time. Remind you guys, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Thanks again for jamming with us.